Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Scott Brabant. I'm the chair for Mental Health Connecticut. I'd like to thank Susie and Jackie Davis and Braden Ransom, who helped us kick off Mental Health Month, where we celebrate 31 days of wellness, more specifically 31 tools to thrive, helping us build our mental health self-care toolkit. We begin today with mindfulness, tools and techniques to help reduce our stress and anxiety. And we're pleased to announce that we have Brandon Nappy, Dr. Brandon Nappy, who's going to lead us through our session today. Brandon?
Thank you, Scott. I feel today just so thankful for the partnership between Copper Beech Institute and Mental Health Connecticut. I feel like our missions are in such alignment, and it's been a great blessing to work together as we work to open up conversations around mental health, to normalize conversations around mental health. And something that's been really important in our conversations at Copper Beech Institute about well-being is to normalize the kind of ebb and flow of our mental health. That to be a human being means to have some moments of joy. It also means to have some moments of hardship. It means to have many moments in between. And I think sometimes in our culture, there is a kind of toxic positivity that demands that we carry this inflated sense of happiness all the time. And it's just not life for most of us. It isn't how our nervous systems are designed. So today, I hope, is a way of bringing some mindfulness skills to the very normal ebbs and flows of life and the stress that we sometimes encounter. This is our work at Copper Beech Institute, to bring mindfulness to the joys, to the stresses, and to everything in between. Copper Beech Institute, of course, is a community of mindfulness practice that has become quite global in the past year. Since the pandemic began, some 40,000 people from 40 countries have been connected to our work and have found in our community a really brave and safe space to practice mindfulness. Maybe it might be helpful just to define some terms in our short time together. I'll explain a little bit what mindfulness is and how it's similar but different than meditation. We'll have a few moments to practice some mindfulness together, and then we'll have just maybe a moment or two for any questions. So this is just a little bit of a taste for the kinds of practices that we share at Copper Beech Institute that I know Mental Health Connecticut celebrates, and then if folks want to learn more, there'll be many resources that we can share with you. So I first came to mindfulness because I realized sort of two things simultaneously. On the one hand, I was carrying a level of toxic stress and overwhelm and anxiety that for much of my life I thought was normal. And I would white knuckle it and push through and live for the weekends and yet spend most of the weekend dreading the work week. And so this rising tide of anxiety was feeling more and more life-threatening, and like it was just squashing every bit of joy that I had. That was one really strong factor. And on the other side of things, I felt increasingly like I was sleepwalking through life. Like I somehow was missing my own life. Like I was a spectator on the sidelines to my life. And even as a spectator, I was falling asleep. I was not paying attention. And so I had this kind of sense of dis-ease, a sense of a lack of contentment or just unsatisfactoriness, that even the things that were really pleasant and joyful and beautiful had this sort of muted tone to it. And I started working with a therapist, which is one of the first really important things in my life. And in the midst of, gosh, maybe a 5-year, really committed, ongoing relationship with a therapist, I began learning mindfulness skills and tools. He was also a practitioner of mindfulness, and so I could on the one hand, drink from the well of kind of traditional clinical talk therapy, but also drink from this other well of mindfulness practice. And what I realized as I began to practice some mindfulness is that it was like certain pieces of my life were given back to me as a gift, pieces that I didn't even really know were missing. But then when I started practicing and started meditating and started even informally, just throughout my day, just slowing down, paying attention to my breath or to sounds or sensations in the body, what I became to understand is there were vast dimensions to my humanity that I had been cut off from and that were beginning to come back to me like this precious gift of myself that was given back. So as a result, I think I would say I just felt more alive. Like there was so much more to appreciate in my life. And it's not like the stress magically went away. I don't know that the stress necessarily changed, but my relationship to it changed. And that was really transformative for me. So when we talk about mindfulness, we're really talking about the capacity that all of us have to pay attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And that's John Kabat-Zinn's definition. He's one of the godfathers of the mindfulness movement here in the United States. Again, his definition, paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So a shorter way of saying that might be presence, showing up to your life, being present. So what's really important here for me, has been for me, is that mindfulness simply is this skill that all of us have. I mean, babies are born with this awareness, this ability to be present. And then over time, we forget, or we launch ourselves into the past or into the future, and we miss the reality that life is only ever unfolding moment by moment. And John Kabat-Zinn's work at the University of Massachusetts Medical School was really groundbreaking, because what he did is he created an 8-week course in meditation and mindfulness and some gentle movement, and he began studying it. And 30 plus years later, we have thousands of research articles from the perspective of neuroscience and behavioral health and psychology, enumerating the many, many benefits of mindfulness. So we think about mindfulness as this general term of being awareness, of being aware, of being present without judgment. And this can be cultivated in countless different ways. Through art, through making music. Some of us become really present when we're walking in nature, when we're listening to a friend or listening to music. Meditation is one out of a million different ways that we can cultivate this skill of mindfulness or present moment awareness. And that's what we'll spend just the next few minutes practicing. One very simple form of sensory meditation. And in this meditation, we'll cycle through all of the sensations that we have, and we'll just practice observing as much as we can without judgment. We're not trying to change anything about our experience. We're simply rolling out the red carpet and trying to be as curious as we can about the experience that we're having moment by moment. Because one of the things that that's often a challenge when folks begin taking a course in mindfulness-based stress reduction is they think it's a kind of magic wand. I'll start meditating, I'll start paying attention, and then all of the stress of my life will magically disappear. Of course, life continues to be stressful, but what this practice gives us is a way of shifting our relationship with the stress that arises, such that we can cultivate an open-hearted curiosity about the nature of our experience, that we can release judgment, and we can bring lots of self-compassion to our lives. So If you feel so moved, I invite you to join me in some practice. There's no special posture that we'll be using today, so you can just check in with your posture and be comfortable. And the first thing I'll invite you to do is to just scan the room that you're in and notice 5 things that you see. And really taking your time, maybe taking a good 10 seconds as you sort of hone in on something that you want to take into the field of vision, and just spend a good few moments just sort of really seeing it. Maybe it's something you've seen thousands of times, but spending a moment maybe even noticing something that you've not noticed before. And then when you feel like you've given it a full moment, you've really taken it in, move on to the next thing. And when you've taken this thing in, finding the third thing. Just cultivating some curiosity, almost like a scientist might lean in and study something with curiosity, trying to see it with new eyes as if it's never quite been seen before. Is there something new to notice? Then when you feel like you've seen that thing, moving on to the fourth thing. Is there something new to notice here in this fourth object? And then the fifth object. What new to be welcomed into the field of vision is here? And now, bringing into our awareness 4 things that we can touch. And so, using your hands, if you feel so moved, just exploring the space around you, touching 4 things, and bringing the same kind of curiosity, but this time through touch. And moving on to each of these 4 things at your own pace. We'll just spend a few moments. It's like there's a whole new world of things that on the one hand are quite familiar, but on the other hand are like new horizons, like new landscapes. Maybe you notice something you haven't noticed before. Texture. And taking one more second to round out the 4 touches. And then welcoming into our awareness 3 things that you can hear. You may wish to lower the gaze to really heighten our sense of hearing. You might want to begin first by listening into the sound that's farthest away. And then shifting to a sound that's just a little closer. A sound from across the room. And now listening in for a sound that is most intimate to ourselves, the closest sound. It might be the sound of your breathing, the sound of the subtle shifting in the chair, the sound of the computer. And now, welcoming into our awareness two things that you can smell as we hone in on something that might be far more subtle and intricate. So smelling closely, honing your inner cat or dog who relies so much on sense of smell. And finally, bringing into our awareness one thing that we can taste. So often we move throughout the day with a kind of lack of awareness of the sensation of taste. It's like it's shut off. And so this is an opportunity just to bring online whatever sensations or tastes are arising within the mouth. Even if it's lack of taste, just being curious about what lack of taste tastes like. And finally, I invite you to shift awareness now to, if it feels nourishing, if it feels helpful, the breath at the belly. But only if this feels nourishing. Some of you may wish to return to some of the other sensations, listening or looking around the room. And we'll just spend a moment with the breath or with any other of the sensations of your choosing while I read this beautiful poem, short poem by Dana Folds called Allow. So much of our mindfulness practice is just allowing our sensations, our felt experience, just to be as it is without trying to change it. So this is Dana Folds' wisdom, allow. There is no controlling life. Try corralling a lightning bolt, containing a tornado. Dam a stream and it will create a new channel. Resist and the tide will sweep you off your feet. Allow and grace will carry you to higher ground. The only safety lies in letting it all in. The wild and the weak, fear, fantasies, failures, and successes. When loss rips off the doors of the heart or sadness veils your vision with despair, our practice becomes simply bearing the truth. Simply bearing the truth. In the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed in your new eyes. So thank you, friends. Thank you for your practice, for this practice of simply allowing our senses to come online, allowing ourselves to connect with what's actually happening in the body. I think so much of the transformation in mental health over the last number of years, as so many people have fought to destigmatize conversations around mental health, is we just normalized the experience of being human. We've normalized, I hope, this up and down, this cycling of the nervous system, normalized our sensations, our senses. And so the very first thing we do in mindfulness practice is just to reacquaint ourselves with what we're actually experiencing in the body. And so if folks are interested at all about deepening mindfulness practice, creating a meditation practice, we practice every day, Monday through Friday, 2 times a day at 7:30 and at 12:30. There's this beautiful community of folks who gather from all over the world. We have people from across the country and from Portugal and Crete and India, all of whom give themselves courageously to this work of showing up moment by moment for their own life. And I've really been heartened to see the way in which this community has been a vital community of support, of wellness, and has been a space where really honest and sometimes raw conversations about mental health can happen. So there's a link in the chat box, and it's a free group that meets 10 times a week, Monday through Friday. We'd love to have you join us. So for the folks who are here live, any questions or reflections as we come to 2 o'clock?
That was wonderful. Thank you, Brandon. This is for a longer conversation, but what occurs to me is why this is so difficult for us. And I'm curious to know if you see this as getting more complicated for people to be mindful, or if it's getting easier because now it's talked about more openly, or if it's a mixed bag, or, it's something I never thought of before is why can't we do this? Why do we want?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many factors here. So much of our educational system, so much of Western society is built upon not being here. It's built upon the next moment, right? We set goals for the future. We think about the next vacation. All of our consumer society is built around avoiding what's happening now, avoiding discomfort, avoiding pain, and buying something which promises to make the pain go away, but always leaves us feeling hollow. Of course, in one way, it feels very difficult to do this because so much of our society is organized around being either in the past or in the future. And yet I want to say simultaneously, children do this. They don't have to learn it, they're born doing this. So this is profoundly simple. There's actually nothing to even relearn. This is just about remembering. Mm-hmm. We all know how to play. We don't need to learn how to play. We just remember. We just need to take time. So it's not like I had to teach anyone how to smell. Right, we know how to do that. We just need to make a little bit of space for it. So this is largely the work of prioritization. And yes, so much of our culture prioritizes other things, which is why, we've partnered in this beautiful way just to create a little bit of space. And whether folks come live, or I suspect that many folks will dip into this deep, deep reservoir by recording, and they'll remember, oh, this is so simple. This is just about coming home to this incredible capacity that we all have. It's not expensive. You don't need to buy it. You don't need to fly somewhere. You don't need a new job. You don't need to make more money. You don't need a bigger house. I mean, it's not that any of those things are bad, right? But it's just that the resource that will allow us to both find deeper joy and move through some of the more difficult moments of life is hardwired within us. All we have to do is wake up to it. Right? And that's the work we do at Copper Beach.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate it. It's really fantastic.
We feel honored to be a part of this work and to support it. So thank you for all you're doing during this month to help these important practices to reach so many and for these important conversations to happen. Well done.
Right back at you, and we'll make sure we get that link out about the meditation groups, because and thank you for doing that for free. And I just love that it really has that big community feel, but it also, I've been on those sessions and like it feels like you really are all together, even though you're with folks from across the world. So I think that's wonderful. So
Oh, thanks so much, Susie.
thanks everyone for coming.
All right, take care.
Join us next
Be well.
Monday, same time.
Thank you so much. This was fabulous.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.